in the bottom left, folks. In the blue, he is for Team GP, taking down Scarlet to get here. It's Cham.
And his opponent, spawning up at the top right for the Shopify Rebellion, looking to get revenge for his teammate. It's the captain, Harstem. And we're going to be seeing just a nice little move from Harstem. He says, hey, you don't get to take your hat to the natural. Something we're very used to at this point. But I feel like it favors players who are ultra active. You know, Hero, he loves to do this all the time. He loves to get real feisty with his adepts, and it's very annoying to deal with. We're going to see if Harstem can, you know, maybe showcase some of that intense practice he's been putting in and manage to get a little something done with that first adept that's going to be coming across the map. Something else that I want to mention as well, and we're going to see it here. We'll see what timing this cybernetics core finishes. In a recent YouTube video he posted, I know it was just a for fun video that he was talking. He was kind of going back and forth with Raynor. They made a video of like beating grandmasters, like literally top of the ladder with stupid stuff. And he was talking like, hey, I've been really focusing on microing my probes super hard early on. So he's been looking to hit his cybernetics core timings as early as possible. And he mentioned that he's been able to hit a 2:08 timing in some of these games. Unfortunately, on this one, it's 2:11, so it's actually even 1 second later than the norm. But we're going to be looking to see if he can kind of hit some of those faster timings and make some neat stuff happen off that.
Yeah, that'll be nice. The other thing, well, we talk about, oh, there we go. Leading into it, it's going to be Twilight immediately after this one. And on maps like Royal Blood, right, the third base is actually really far away from the main. That can be something where you do want to go into Glaive Adept play, something like that, especially again with this natural block. And seems like that is where Harstem is going for in game one. And Steadfast, it's kind of fun watching this because, again, I've been talking to a lot of different people, and I've heard from multiple Zergs and multiple Protoss now that they kind of expect to see this Glaive Adept play start to come back into form. We didn't really see it for a while. MaxPax was like the only Protoss player in Europe that really does it. And MaxPax is not going to be a Katowice, right? But because of how the maps are, because of how far away the main base can be from the third, because how wide open the third base can be. Ooh, nice little shade in there. One worker will go down, make that a second, but Lings start to pop out, so the Adepts have to run away. That can make this pressure really powerful. Now, the only thing that makes me a little sad is we've seen some experimentation over the last year with like 2-gate glaives or like 3-gate glaives, right? And then you take a quick third and it's not quite as committed, but no. Harstem, it's the classic. 4-gate glaives, Robo on the way. And now we just get to see, is this actually worth doing?
Well, this isn't actually exactly 4-gate glaives in the traditional sense. We do see 4 gateways, but he didn't get the robotics facility right away. I think, okay, so normally this would actually be 6-gate glaives right here. Because you get the 3 gates, you get the Robo, and then you get another 3 gates with that Robo facility. But in this case, he is actually going for like a weird 4-gate glaive. So the reason this is weird is normally you warp in your 4 additional adepts to get yourself up to 8 adepts, or in this case, it would actually be 9. But you warp that in at 4:30 is the timing you're looking to hit. Now, in this case, he warps it in, but he gets the warp prism faster. So what he's done, he's actually done something where he's reshuffled the build. He's gotten the robotics facility later, and it's not going to show the build as early, but it is going to hit with 1 extra adept, and it's going to hit just a little bit stronger. So it's 4-gate glaives with an asterisk, and that asterisk means just a little bit more power a little bit later.
Yeah, but Steadfast, as cool as that is, right? Finding little optimizations, hitting a little bit later, a little bit faster, whatever. Look at what Cham's doing. Cham had a 3-minute layer. He's got a bunch of roaches already on the way, speed roach behind this. And I don't know that there's a build I hate more than running into a bunch of roaches with a bunch of adepts. I mean, adepts just don't fight roaches. Now, Harstem, if he buys the time, he will have the Robo Bay, he will have disruptors, he will have that going for him, but he's gonna have to fight a bunch of speed roaches with a bunch of adepts, and right now, the numbers are overwhelming. So Cham's gonna have to back up just a little bit, but as the roaches start to arrive here, very quickly, we're going to hit roach numbers that these adepts will not really be able to fight.
Yes, that is correct, but we're not actually there just yet, and the mobility is better. I do like the way Harstem is handling this very well. The roach speed is really the critical moment, I guess, critical setup there. We are going to see the 2 adepts harass coming in from Harstem. He's got to pick these up if he wants to save them. Only going to save 1. The first disruptor is on the way, but yeah, this is Cham's setup. So he skips Ling speed a lot of time against Protoss, and he's like the only player in the world to do that. But it is very good against specifically this. You mentioned having roaches against the glaive adepts. It's a funky setup, but this disruptor timing may end up catching Cham very off guard. We're gonna have to see if he's paying attention, because off creep, disruptors can do very well. Ooh, he recalled the War Prism, yeah, to bring it home. So he's going to look to drop in on top of these roaches, and there it is. The split comes on in, but it's not the greatest. However, the concave is very good against those adepts.
Yeah, what a weird game we're looking at. Glaive adepts into disruptor drops. I mean, that's an old build. Rejiggered, but still an old build. Versus this speed roach timing, you skip Zergling speed. Like, what is this? The one thing we do have to point out, though, Harstem, he's trying to get his third base up right now. Adepts, hey, they get a little bit more, but Harstem's third base is very far behind where Cham's is. But on the flip side, this pressure coming in from both players means that Cham's fourth base also not going to be at the timing he would be looking for. But look at this response. Baneling Nest going down. There's no Zergling speed yet. He's going to have to get that. But Banelings versus a bunch of Adepts steadfast. That's pretty good for the Zerg.
Yes, it is very good for the Zerg. These disruptors are everything right now for Harstem. This is not a speed prism. There is no recall. He is probably going to have to cancel this base. He does not. Okay, he's got 1 disruptor in the natural. But yeah, if he cancels this base, I mean, it's a straight up disaster. He barely does get the cancel. But the 4th base is done now for Cham pretty much. As long as Cham doesn't lose everything to this disruptor, which, hang on, he's actually not pulling back. Oh, well, that's the shot Harstem kind of needed right there. But is it even enough? He's still significantly down in supply, and he's so delayed on his third base timing. Ooh, Harstem looking to track down these roaches. Yeah, the creep spread is so far forward on this right side.
Oh, and there's the problem as well. There's no mobility, right? You don't have blink. You don't deal, even with the disruptors, you don't deal with anything all that well. So the roaches, they're just swarming at this point. Harstem, he's got to keep that third base alive, but he can't keep that third base alive because the roaches are on the left side. And as this happens, Steadfast, Cham's got his 4th. He's got Baneling speed just about done. He's got double Evo chambers. Not going to be a thing for a while. Harstem is just, he doesn't have the mobility on the map now to do what he wants. But hey, Blink is done in about 30 seconds. He's going to have Warp Prism speed as well. This might allow him to start to be active on the map, but these roaches, they're just so obnoxious.
Yeah, they're really frustrating to deal with, and the fact that Cham has split them into 2 groups is such a great decision at this moment. But make no mistake, he's going to be looking to hit hard with this now Bane speed timing finished on up. Cham, oh man, can even be stopped. Blink is still 10 seconds away. The Warp Prism will come back in here. Force Field kind of breaks up the concave a little bit. Disruptor shot. Oh, it's decent, but not amazing. Second disruptor shot getting dodged pretty well by Cham. And the surround is very good, but the battery overcharge will get its full duration. Actually, was it depowered? It doesn't even matter. He's just going to get overwhelmed completely. The full surround from Cham will take game number 1.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, sometimes you go for weird builds and sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't. I don't like, I wasn't a big fan of what Harstem was doing, but certainly I wasn't a big fan of what Harstem was doing versus the roach pressure that we saw. It was really a good build order advantage that Cham found that he swung into a victory. And that's just how that happens sometimes, right? You get the right build, it turns into a victory. But this is why we're happy that there is game number 2. That this is a best of 3 that we're going to be able to move into. It's going to be Babylon Steadfast on that second map. And I know in part, Zergs like this map because you can actually see something under the creep in your main. But in the context of this game, in the context of this series, how do you feel about it?
I mean, it is going to be another good map for Resonating Glaives, but Cham, like I said, he's really the only player that goes for this super fast layer, fast roach speed play. And like you said, there are opportunities to find damage, but the way Cham plays it, he really shuts things down super quickly. And it's very difficult to go up against. As long as Harstem plays standard, I think I prefer his setup, but man, I don't know.
Yeah, it's so interesting, right? And this is where we can start to see the advantages of players who are good in weekender setups. Yeah, the start of this, everyone knew who they were playing. They had their prep. Maybe they mind gamed themselves a little bit further forward, and they said, I know who I'm going to play around too. We're deep in. I don't think Harstem had an idea he was going to play Cham, and so he was prepping probably generic PVZ. The problem is when you run into a player like Haas, or a player like Cham, or a player like Dark, or someone intensely stylistic, that prep work goes out the window. And if you're playing what you would play against a normal Zerg, well, things happen like what we saw in game 1, where, well, you just get hard countered by 3-minute lair speed roaches with no gas into a third base. Weird things. But we're going to find out whether Harstem is going to get hard countered again, whether this is going to go to our third game. Because, folks, Babylon, map 2. In the bottom right, though, in the red. He's down a game in this series for the Shopify Rebellion. It's Harstem.
And his opponent spawning up at the top left, playing an excellent game from a build order advantage for Team GP. It is Cham. And he's looking to really set himself up nicely in this tournament here. This would be a pretty phenomenal result if he was able to win this series here, because next, I think we were talking about it, I think we heavily favor Ryung versus Coffee, which would then be great news for Cham, because Ryung's TVT and TVP are world class, but his TVZ we saw versus Sue did not look the sharpest. It might be able to take down Cham. We'll have to see. It'll all come down to it if it happens there. But this is kind of a dream bracket for Cham if he can win this one right here. And if he were to, then beat his next round opponent, all of a sudden he's in the qualifying match.
And Steadfast, I know you talk about, okay, maybe it's enough to beat Cham. I don't think anyone gave Cham a ton of credit going into this. But remember how Cham qualified for this tournament. He did so effectively by beating Special twice. Now, we talk about Ryung and we talk about Gumiho as these mech connoisseurs, but Special is a mech player, and more importantly, Special played mech in a ton of those games that Cham beat him in. So I would actually argue that short of, instead of saying, well, okay, maybe Cham is just weak enough that Ryung can take him out, if Cham does this, Cham is one of these players that is imminently positioned to be able to take down Ryung's mech, even if Ryung might be favored otherwise, because of Cham's experience dealing with Special for the last however many years.
All of them.
Exactly.
For all of the years. Yeah, he's been at it for quite some time. Yeah, that's actually a really great point, but we are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, because this match, it's here. It's not done by any stretch. We cannot count Harstem out. He played a build. It was a disadvantaged situation, but he is returning to standard macro play here. He's going for the Stargate. He did double chrono boost his first Adepts. And we got to mention, he got some great work done with those first Adepts, killing 2 drones and a Ling, and getting not even a scratch of actual permanent HP damage. That is a dream start for a Protoss player at this level. Like, you are so happy to find something like that, and he's going to try and go for something similar once again. And Cham is not really in position to punish this. And actually, we're going to see Harstem go for the dive. He's going to get at least 4 drones. Ooh, Cham. Okay, Cham will save one of them, but Harstem. Oh, can he target down that last Ling? He gets it. Nice job. 4 drones and a Ling for a single Adept. Well, I talk about dream starts. That's a pretty dreamy start if ever there was one.
Yeah, that's actually fantastic. I mean, I know okay, so normally when you put 2 Adepts, right, into a mineral line to try to kill, it's like you kill 2 workers, you lose both Adepts. Not great, not terrible. But as the Oracle flies in here, it's going to get 1 or 2 more. Now, Harstem wants to be careful to not lose too much HP. 3 more workers go down, but now this Oracle is going to struggle to get a little bit more damage on the reswing, which is really where you start to find that value anyways, right? When you have 2 Oracles, they one-shot workers. And now Harstem needs to be very careful that he leads with the healthy Oracle and then also hopes that Cham doesn't target that down. And Cham, for his part, he sees the 3rd base is on the way, but this should surprise no one because while game 1 was a very weird game, game 2 is as standard can be. We're leading into the hero style, Forge +1 Robo. Actually, I'm sorry, maybe not the hero style. Seeing this Robo go down, that's a little bit different.
Yeah, it could be charge. You can still see blink off of this, but it's more likely to be that charge upgrade. We'll see in a moment, of course, as Harstem banks up just a tiny bit of gas, needs a little bit more. Okay, looks like it probably will be blink then. Yeah. Oh no, it is still going to be charge. You just didn't have the Twilight Council selected right away. But you talk about standard. I mean, this is standard with a really nice start for Harstem. Finding the amount of damage that he's gotten so far is very good. He's just going to stay on the 2 Oracles since you get rolling with the Charge Lot Archon so much faster. And you want to save up a little bit of gas for that potential. We'll see if it's a quick storm here or if it's just maybe... this could potentially just be like a really big push. I mean, this is kind of, you know, discount that since it's Harstem, but there's potential.
Yeah, and Steadfast, this is 4 gas. Like, if this was 6 gas, I'm like, okay, yeah, charge, move on. This is, I want to say this is the 4 gas timing, where you get up a bunch of gateways pretty soon. Right now, he's only on 2, but explodes a couple more. Moves out with 2 Archons, a couple Zealots, and starts to make something happen. But, oh, look at this. So, I've heard rumblings, and I know we've seen some of it in EPT Cups, but I've heard rumblings that Swarm Hosts are, you know, they're actually really good. Not because of any balance change, but because of the maps. You showed it right there with the rocks. You can hide Swarm Hosts behind things, and then you got to be careful. Because, A, Swarm Hosts are very good against the style that Harstem has gone for, right? The 4 gas Charge Lot Archon thing. It's almost a direct response. And, well, we're going to have to see if that one works out because Harstem, he's getting his Archons, he's doing whatever, but he's going to have to knock this stuff down before it really starts rolling.
Yeah, it's going to be a really big problem for him if he does not figure it out. He's actually building a Phoenix, and that won't really help him at all.
Gotta be a misclick.
Well, no, it could be to try and clear out Overlords. It could be expecting Mutas. There was no 4th base for a while. He just now saw the drone. Okay, does he see the Swarm Host? Oh, this is big. This is big. Ooh, okay, he sees them. Okay, that is so important. He's getting a disruptor right now, but he more than anything wants to get on the map. He wants to make sure there's no Nidus Worm. We know that there's no Nidus Network at all, but he wants to make sure that this Locust Wave gets launched as far away from him as possible. And the fact that he denied someone the creep actually helps him a lot here. And he's actually going to... Oh, no, not jump on them. With 2 Archons... There is a shield battery overcharge here. Yeah, oh, these are going to get so little done, it feels like. Oh, they get nothing. They get absolutely nothing. That's amazing for Harstem to start things off.
And yeah, Steadfast, the one thing you got to remember here, this isn't all in from the Zerg. It's not a macro play. Swarm Hosts are too supply expensive for that. So Cham is going to try to max out. But he's only on 66 workers. He's only on 3 bases. A 4th base at this point is going to be just to be able to build more things. Oh, that's a disruptor that does not want to be where it is. And now the Locust Wave is just about ready. So here we go. Cham moves in on the right side, knocks down a cannon, and he's just waiting for the Swarm Host. You can see him repositioning there over and over, waiting for them to arrive, coming from the backside. And here they are. So Roach is on the right side. Locusts are going to come in from behind. There's going to have to be a shield battery overcharge this time. But is Harstem all set up? There we go. Locust on top of the tech, getting on top of the Immortal, knocking this disruptor down. That's the big deal, but that's all it gets. Really, the disruptor and the Roaches now on the left side. They're what matters, but the Oracles, there are 3 of them. Harstem's even building more. Mildo gets 1, but the big thing, the Ravagers are starting to fall, and that makes life just a little bit more difficult. But it feels like every time this happens, the wall starts to fall for Harstem just a little bit more. He cannot really push the Roaches back to where he wants, but those are going to be some great force fields, at least making a start.
Yes, the supplies are a bit of a lie right now, because every time the Locust Wave gets used, those swarm hosts become dead supply for a while. But they did get that very valuable disruptor here. We are going to see an attempt to drop on top of it again. Decent little, well, actually, no, only gets one shot with a disruptor shot. We are going to see a big move coming on forward here, but there's a lot of charge blocks. This Immortal is adding on a lot of DPS, a lot of surface area for the charge blocks, but is it enough here? Harstem's supply is extremely low, but he is so close to scraping together a hold. However, I think Cham might have found it. I think he might have found the opening here. Nice force field, going to split off these roaches, and the oracles, they're continuing to be pumped out here. Disruptor shot. Oh, good job on the dodge. Battery overcharge getting popped, but it's not going to be enough. Harstem, he's going to be forced to tap out, and Cham is having a hell of a run in this lower bracket.